He walked away from 2 decades in corporate finance to build a business that let him travel the world, inspire thousands, and master both mindset and health. It's Victor Dedaj. I hope I'm saying that right. He's a Jack Canfield certified teacher, naturopathic expert, and co-author of Success Breakthroughs. And we're here on the Marketer of the Day podcast with Robert Plank. We're brought to you by DFY Podcast. We're here so you can podcast without burnout and grow your brand on autopilot. And as we said, Victor Dedaj, how to be happy, healthy, and whole. Discover the ways to be healthy and happy and avoid chronic illnesses is his book as well. So, Mr. Victor, glad to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be. How you doing today, Robert?
I'm wonderful. I just woke up from a quick 30-minute nap. I guess a power nap, as the kids call it. I used to feel guilty doing that, but it's a great way to recharge, to get the brain back. And then after talking with you, I'm going to take a walk, maybe like a 30-minute walk around a certain loop in this neighborhood. So that's how I am. I hope you're proud of me in advance.
Absolutely, I am.
Well, wonderful. So what's on your mind? What are you all about? What's the message you have for us?
My message is that, people can have a healthier life. They can live better. I think a lot of people want to do it, but they don't know all the things they need to do to be healthier. They've been given some bad information and they've been applying it, and it's leads to worse health for them. So I think a lot of people want to do it. They just then don't have all the correct information because they've been getting wrong information over the last 40, 50 years. So I want people to understand, if they're willing to apply, if they learn the correct things, eat the right things, supplement, exercise, they can have a happier, healthier, and more whole life.
Wonderful. So we need to take care of our bodies, right? We only have one: exercise, supplements, diet. And I'm curious already, what is this bad information we've been fed?
Well, a lot of people have been taught that, number one, eggs are very bad for your health because it's high in cholesterol. And the truth is, eggs are some of the healthiest food you can eat. It's got tons of nutrients, it has proteins, it's got all kinds of minerals and vitamins, and it's really important for your brain health, and it's really important just to be healthy. Now, the thing about cholesterol, it's another myth a lot of people don't understand. They've been told that too much cholesterol is bad for you. This goes back to Ansel Keys, going back to the 1950s. But the truth is, cholesterol is important for so many things. It's important for your cell function. It's important for various hormones. You can't make estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone without it. You need it to build vitamin D. You need it to build the bile acids, which is important for breaking down uh, fats during digestion. And a big chunk of your brain is made of cholesterol. So when you're given these cholesterol-lowering drugs like the statins, I believe it's one of the causes of dementia and Alzheimer's disease, because your brain needs that cholesterol, and we have too little of it. It leads to those diseases. And here's the thing: they've done studies. People who have higher levels of cholesterol tend to live longer than people who have lower levels of cholesterol. And people who have lower levels of cholesterol are more likely to have heart disease and heart attacks, not the people who have high levels of cholesterol. The Inuit who, in Alaska, they have cholesterol levels between 300 and 500, and they have very little levels of heart disease. So that's some of the bad information we get. Also, they've been told salt is really bad for you. Salt is needed for nerve function, for muscle function. It's needed to keep you hydrated. It's needed for digestion, and it does not cause high blood pressure. In fact, many of the countries where they eat lots of salt, like Japan and South Korea and France, guess what? Their longevity is much better than many of the countries which eat low levels of salt. So salt is not something that harms your health or makes you die young. It actually helps aid in living longer. And so that's another myth that people have been told. So they've been applying these things. Also, they've been told the amount of wheat bread is healthy. It's actually not. It causes inflammation. It leads to insulin resistance and weight gain. So it's very inflammatory. So they've been told certain foods are healthy and certain things that are bad are actually good for them. So this is some of the stuff that's gotten them into trouble. And they've been told the low-fat, high-carb diet is very healthy. It's actually, since they've gone to that diet, it's led to massive increases in obesity, as well as massive increases in various diseases like diabetes and heart disease, for example.
Ooh, so what I'm getting from all that is that it's a more nuanced conversation, right? If we just stick to the sound bites or say this ingredient bad or this ingredient good, then we're kind of maybe taking these shortcuts that that might not be good for us. And it's fascinating to hear that you've kind of gone through some career pivots, haven't you? You spent 20 years in corporate finance, and now you're in this kind of other reinvented life. And like, what was that all about? What led you to this kind of passion about health and the naturopathism?
I've had interest in, living a more healthy life probably over the past 20 years. I read some stuff in various books and made me realize that we were given really bad information. So it led to an interest in, how can I live a healthier life? Because I realized I was doing some things wrong because I bought into some of those myths I gave out a couple of minutes ago. So I want to learn more and more as to how I can, number one, help myself and then help other people. And then toward the end of my corporate career, I was not really enjoying it. So when I left it, I did not look back. So I went into the entrepreneurial world and then eventually went into um, the health and nutrition world because I really felt I could make a difference in people's lives. So I really believe, and when you help someone get healthier and they say thank you for all that you did to help me, that really makes you feel good knowing you made a difference in someone's life.
Oh yeah, I can imagine that you say, well, now my life has a more concrete meaning, right? It's not just moving the numbers around. I'm actually changing people's outcomes and extending their lifespan, making their quality of life better. And so you took this leap, this jump into entrepreneurship. Is there anything that you think maybe was like surprising or unexpected about that maybe you hadn't planned for?
It's a totally different mindset because when you work as an employee, you're being told what to do. But when you become an entrepreneur, you're basically your own boss, which is good and bad. The good thing is you're your own boss. The bad thing is you're your own boss because you have no one to hold you accountable. So it's easy to get distracted, take time off, be inconsistent. You're like, oh, I don't want to work the next 3 days. That's fine, but you don't get any work done. You're not, working on building your business. So it can lead to high levels of distraction. So you need to, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to find someone who holds you accountable. It could be an accountability partner. It could be a mentor. You got to find it because at work, your boss holds you accountable. If you don't do your work, you get into trouble. You could possibly even get fired. No one can fire you as an entrepreneur, but if you don't do work, you're not going to make any money.
Right. And you get fired anyway, right? It just may be like a slower, gradual process and harder to reverse, right? It's like, well, if you get fired from that job, that's immediate, that's instant, that's tangible. But if your business is maybe on a slow decline or not doing so well, then you might not immediately see those results. So you're saying that it's important
Yep.
to have that discipline and that consistency. And I imagine that if we're kind of more of a free agent entrepreneur, then we have more freedom to make both good and bad decisions, right? And if we take better care of our mind, our body, our diet, then that can then improve our business as well, right? Because then we can have that better energy and focus that maybe you can kind of get by a little better on a 9 to 5. But when you're self-employed entrepreneurship, it's probably easier, I imagine, to have that sedentary lifestyle. And if you take better care of yourself, then maybe that will result in a better output for your business too.
No, absolutely. Yeah, you'll be more productive. You will think better. You'll be more creative. So doing all these little things, taking care of your health, exercising, doing stuff like meditation is very good, and getting enough sleep, believe it or not, is extremely important. A lot of people underestimate the value of sleep, but if you get enough sleep, you will think better. You'll be more productive. If you're sleeping 4 to 5 hours a day, your health isn't going to suffer. You won't do as well. You're going to make a lot more mistakes than if you get a good night's rest.
Ooh, so I'm sensing another theme in our conversation is maybe us fooling ourselves, right? If we fool ourselves about our productivity or our consistency or with our sleep, maybe we make these shortcuts and we don't realize how much we're dragging and lagging. And so when you kind of see the bad habits that people have out there, especially with sleep, you hear about things like the phone by the bed or the blue screen late at night, or like the drinking before bed or irregular hours. But you tell me, like, why are so many people and Americans struggling with their sleep habits?
I think a lot of them are feeling pressure to not get enough sleep. Like you're in med school. I mean, you're doing your residency. You're doing like be on call for 36 hours, which actually is not a good way to do things. You really, there've been people who damage has been done to them during surgery because there's someone's been operating on them who hasn't slept in 24 hours. That's actually the worst. You do not want to be operating on someone who hasn't gotten any sleep. And I would say if you're having surgery, have it done first thing in the morning, you're the first procedure being done on. So this way the doctor is fresh. Someone's gotten a lot of sleep. You don't want someone who's sleep deprived. And they've done studies, for example, in high school students in various cities. When the school time start is much earlier, these teenagers get into a lot more car accidents. But when they push it back to start time 30 to 45 minutes, there's a lot fewer accidents among these teenage drivers because they're getting more sleep. They're more aware, they're more alert. This is what happens when you get more sleep. And there are many other health benefits, but you're more alert. You're less likely to suffer from insulin resistance, obesity. You're less likely to succumb to illnesses like cancer. So there's a lot of health benefits against it. And as a kid, you grow more. They've done studies with twins. One twin gets a lot of sleep, the other one gets very little sleep. The one who gets more sleep grows more, does better in school, gets better grades, is more intelligent because that person is getting more sleep. So they've done many studies over the decades. There are so many more benefits to getting enough sleep to growth, and this goes on throughout your entire life. And you will live longer if you get more sleep.
Very nice. I had a podcast guest a couple of years ago. I think you and I might have talked about him, kind of who said that like sleep is connected to so much, right? That there's like it's connected to like better decisions with your diet, and then even like all these things that you mentioned about like fatigue, and you look at all these studies about how like the car accidents and crimes and things like that, it all happens like late at night, very rarely in the middle of the day, right? When people actually had some of this rest. And so, but I can imagine like many people still with like the workaholic mindset still fighting you on this, right? Sometimes people say, well, I've got ambition and I want to go a million miles an hour. So what would you say to someone like that? Like, is there like an ideal sleep schedule, or how do we have our cake and eat it too? How do we like get everything we want out of life, business, productivity, but also have good sleep diet, take care of ourselves? How do we have it all?
If you want to have it all, you got to make time for yourself. There is no way to work like 16, 17 hours a day and have it all. Your health will definitely suffer, and you're going to make a lot more mistakes at work. And I know this from coming from the corporate world. I know the pressure companies will put on you, and a lot of times companies will look down upon people who try to get some sleep. But the ones who sleep more will definitely be more productive and get more things on. After a certain point, you can only work so many hours before the quality of your work suffers. You cannot work for 14 hours straight and do quality work all 14 hours. You got to take breaks. That's why you have lunch breaks, for example. So you got to take various breaks, and the more hours you work during the day, later on the quality of your work is going to suffer. So it's really better just to take some time off. A lot of companies don't see it that way, but if they really give their employees time to do it, and I would just say your health is worth it, because sometimes we're like a machine. If the machine's working nonstop, it's going to break down. Your body's going to break down too. If you're never resting, never taking time for yourself, at least take one day off during the weekend, and you have some time off, during the weekdays. Don't just work 14, 15 hours, go to sleep, and then go back to work. It's not a good life. It's not a healthy life, and you will probably die relatively young.
Okay,
And is it
so
worth is it worth the money? No.
no, nothing is. If you're dead, like, yeah, that's the whole point. So you're saying be nicer to yourself, be kinder to yourself, have that break. That way you can recharge and you're not running yourself ragged. And so it has me curious about just the various struggles that you've gone through, because we already mentioned things like the career change and kind of having this increased freedom that you enjoy now. But like, what have you struggled with? Like, have you struggled with like mental health, with some of these health issues, with growing your business, building a list, traffic? I mean, what do you think is worth mentioning about your own personal struggles?
When I first got started as an entrepreneur, it's definitely a big learning curve because you're doing something totally different. Everyone thinks you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to make $1 million your first week. Nothing could be further from the truth. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're doing a lot of things wrong, especially if you try to do it without a mentor. So there's a lot of things you don't know because you haven't done it. And I think pretty much every entrepreneur will tell you it's really important to get yourself a good mentor to help guide you along the process. Someone who's been through what you've been through, and they can help reduce the amount of mistakes you're going to make. You're always going to make mistakes, but if you try to do it on your own, yeah, you can eventually figure it out. But if you try to do it by yourself, it takes so much longer. There's so much frustration, anxiety. It's not worth it. So I would recommend, If I started all over again, I would have gotten myself a mentor much sooner because a mentor definitely saved me a lot of headaches. So that's the one thing I wish I'd done earlier because I definitely made a lot of mistakes. And that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't procrastinate. Sometimes I procrastinate because I was afraid of making mistakes, but that's how you learn. You get feedback from the things you do. And so you learn from it, and then you make adjustments along the way. And so that's good. I mean, there's no way you're not going to make mistakes. So that's the other thing I'd say prepare for. You're going to make mistakes. And I think and the other thing when the mentor are going to help you with your beliefs and mindset. Mindset is so important. A lot of times people know what to do, but they have these obstacles in their subconscious mind. They sabotage themselves, and a lot of times because of the negative self-talk, they do things to sabotage their success. A lot of times you don't realize how much negative self-talk is going on. So you need to definitely work on it and also surround yourself with people who are going to support you on your journey. People who are successful, people who are more positive. Because if you surround yourself with people who are going to try to drag you down, they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. You're more likely to be like those people who are struggling and not successful. So try to find people who are successful and who are going to support you.
Very nice. It's inspiring to think about these things, and it seems like it comes down to make things less hard on yourself, right? Don't make it more difficult than it has to be. And it seems like there's a lot of revisiting the simplicity and the fundamentals with you, right? Gratitude, optimism, having that good positive mindset, having those mentors. That all might be advice that we've heard, but many of us have not implemented or need to revisit some of those things. And there's definitely no downside in having that mentor, even if it seems a little tedious to like explain your plan and revisit some goals. Well, how else do you think you'll be on track? And so you mentioned about like these mentors. Is there a mentor that you feel like mentioning, or like someone that maybe uh, you owe a lot to, or made you rethink some things? Anything to talk about as far as those mentors?
Well, one of them is someone I got certified with is Jack Canfield, who wrote the Success Principles. So, those sort of principles really made a big difference in how I approach my business and how I approach my life. It made me change my mindset a lot. And his very first principle of success is take 100% responsibility for your life, and which is something very few people do. We love to blame everything else, blame our problems on someone or something else. Now, granted, there are things that are going to happen to us, but we do have power over our response to it. He has this equation E plus R equals O, which means the event plus the response equals the outcome. So we have no control sometimes over the event, but the outcome is determined by the response to that event. That's why sometimes two people have the same event happen to them, and it's going to be really bad, but they'll have different outcomes because one person reacts differently to it than the other person. So a lot of people think it's solely the event, but it's also your response. That's where your power lies. And when you do that, you become more solution oriented. When you don't take any responsibility, you just become very passive and don't do anything. So you become more solution oriented when you take 100% responsibility. So that's the one thing that really made a big difference in how I apply things. So those success principles really changed things for me.
That's really great. That's useful and helpful. E plus R equals O. And if you are in that kind of misery loves company situation, it might be safe and comforting momentarily, but it seems like that approach gives your power away, right? That if something happens to you, you kind of have that fork in the road of either, well, you can change your actions or you can change the way that you think about it. And it really can be that simple as long as we maybe untangle the mental knots and take care of our mind and our body. And as you said, surround ourselves with good quality people who are positive and uplifting and supportive and maybe on the same track as us. And it perhaps can be painful to sever those relationships if they're not serving us, right? If it's a toxic relationship, someone's bringing us down, negative, passive aggressive, life's too short for any of that sort of stuff. And so we have definitely jumped around in many different areas, right? We talked about health, we talked about entrepreneurism, success, and in these last few minutes, I want to make sure that we talk about what's important to you, Mr. Victor. So, do you think in our conversation, could there be a missing question that I should be asking you? I just don't know what to ask you.
Well, you could just be asking me, what do we need to do to have a better life? Where should we go? And I would just say, The power lies within you. So you make this, and that's what the E plus R equals always will demonstrate. You have it within you. A lot of times people think there's nothing they can do. There's certain things you don't have control over, but you have control over your actions. And if you really want to do that, you got to realize if you take action, you can find solutions to your problems, and you got to believe in yourself. That is so important. The things that happen between your ears, that makes all the difference in the world, the mindset. And the last thing I would just say is, and I really want to leave this with people, is, very often we seek control to other people in our lives, in our businesses, but also with our health. We see it to big pharma, to doctors. Yeah, you should respect your doctor, but you're allowed to question your doctor. Sometimes doctors make mistakes. And don't accept it as gold. Don't accept it always wrong. So, especially if you want to have a procedure done, get a second opinion. Maybe you need to get a third opinion. But a lot of times we just accept what they say, and it's okay to question it. They're fallible beings. They do make mistakes. So, and I know from experience they do. They're not perfect, and it's okay. They're well-meaning, but it's okay to question, especially with regards to your health. And I would say, take control of your health. Don't let other people control it. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. Don't turn your doctor into a god. He's not. He means well, but sometimes he makes mistakes.
Yeah, you can make that informed opinion, especially since we're living in this information age of Chat GPT and YouTube, and we can go and read a book or listen to an audiobook and get ourselves educated and informed and focus on what we can control, including your book, which is called How to Be Happy, Healthy, and Whole. Discover the ways to be healthy and happy and avoid chronic illnesses, which is on Amazon. It's on Audible, so many different places. And as far as someone saying, man, this guy Victor, he really has a lot of advice to give me, and he can help me in many ways. So who are your sorts of people that you'd want to find you, and where should they go to find out more about you?
Well, number one, primarily, if you want to learn how to achieve better health, you should definitely reach out to me because I can definitely help you in many different ways. So, and if you're looking for someone who's who can be a mentor to you, maybe a success coach, I can do it as well. So, but my primary passion is really health, wellness, and nutrition because I really think if you take care of that, you could take care of so many other things. Because Richard Branson, they first asked him, what's the first thing you recommend to someone to become a millionaire, to a billionaire? He says, exercise. He understood it's your health that comes first. He didn't talk about success principles and that. He talked about taking care of your health. He says exercise first. So you need to take care of your health and everything else will take care of itself. So if you want to reach out to me, number one, if you want to get a free health evaluation, you can go to yourfreehealthevaluation.com. And you can also go to my website, victordedaj.com, and you can learn more about me. And health evaluation is there too. And there are other things you can learn about me as well. And you can find the link to the book on that website as well.
Very cool, and that's a great advice there from Mr. Richard Branson himself to pursue your health. And I'm sure you've had some of your best ideas on a walk, on a run, on the treadmill when you're just like moving your body, getting that blood flowing to your brain and other areas. It's so important, and it's definitely a message that we need because we have more freedom than ever. But that's kind of swings both ways, right? You could spend all of your day in the computer chair, all of your day on the cell phone, all of your day in front of the TV. And it's like, well, if you want to have a long, fruitful, healthy life that's productive with great relationships, then you need to make these better, wiser decisions. And sometimes it involves doing things that maybe you change your routine or are out of your comfort zone, including just getting out there and moving or asking for advice from a health coach such as Victor Dedaj, and you can find him at VictorDedaj.com. You can find him on LinkedIn, and that health evaluation we talked about is yourfreehealthevaluation.com. Did I get that right?
That is correct.
All right, wonderful. And we said that there is on victordedaj.com, you could find out about his story, the book we've mentioned, which is How to Be Happy, Healthy, and Whole, as well as the Success Breakthroughs book co-authored with Mr. Jack Canfield himself. And you can find him on LinkedIn as well. And so as we're checking out those resources, we said there's victordedaj.com, yourfreehealthevaluation.com, and How to Be Happy, Healthy, and Whole on Amazon. It's time for the scary part of the podcast, Mr. Victor, where I try to stump you, I try to put you on the spot by asking you about a fun or interesting quote or lesson that has served you. So, what comes to mind as far as a fun or interesting quote or lesson?
Well, one thing I would say is something that's attributed to Tony Robbins, but it's probably been said by many other people, is success leaves clues. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Learn from other people that have come before you. So I just try to learn from everyone else before me that's done it. And so in addition to a personal mentor, I use these other people, whether I read books or uh, listen to videos, I use them as mentors too. So I've seen some of the things they do because they're giving me clues as to how I can make my life and my business better. So remember, success leaves clues. Don't try to figure it all out on your own. Learn from others who've done it before you.
Very nice. You're a great man, Mr. Victor, and you learn so much. And there's so much that we can learn from others, such as Jet Canfield, Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, etc. They've done the hard work. They figured it out the hard way. They put in lifetime, decades, and we can say, "Hey, what did they do? Maybe I can reduce the pain of my success." There's still that entrepreneurship work to be done, but heck, be a curious learner and figure out how it's done. And the starting point for that is how to be happy, healthy, and whole, because Mr. Richard Branson himself said if you want to be on that billionaire path, take care of your mind and body. And VictorDedaj.com, yourfreehealthevaluation.com. And thanks, Mr. Victor, for showing up, stopping by, giving us quite a fun roller coaster ride of advice. I'm glad that you showed up, and thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure, Robert. Thanks for having me on the show. It was a lot of fun.
All right.